Afternoon and welcome. I'm Lance Smith, and we're here with the midweek devotional. We took a little break while we moved down to the mountains. We've been trying to get back down here. Now we're here, and as I promised, it's August, and we're going to start back up with the devotional. Zeke and I are out filming a little bit today. We're up in the mountains up near Saluda, North Carolina, and this is the mountains, folks. This is what I was craving while I was in Wisconsin. We're going to head up the road here just a little bit. We're going to head upstream and got lots of sights and lots of things we're going to share with you just so that you can get a little taste of the mountains. And then we'll talk about the mountains. Here we are in downtown Saluda, North Carolina. Saluda was founded in 1881. It was actually founded after the railroad came through here. This was the place where the railroad had to take a pause, because one of the steepest grades in the U.S., the Saluda grade, was just below this town, just south of it. There's a 3-mile stretch and a huge difference in elevation. As the site of a lot of deaths and a lot of train wrecks. But at the top of the hill, that's where you had to take on some extra sand and take your break and make sure everything was good before you started down the mountain with your load, because the mountain was so steep. You wanted to make sure everything was in working order. And the other way around, in this line between Asheville and Spartanburg, as you were coming up the hill, up the mountain, you wanted to stop and refresh everything because you probably used a lot of coal coming up that mountain. As a matter of fact, they had to put a little pusher engine on most of the trains to get them up over the mountain. So it became a stop, and people would get off the trains, and they needed some things here, and so that's where the town formed. And it also, they found out that the higher the elevation, the cooler the temperatures. Today we're up here and it's 76 degrees. It was about 90 degrees in Columbus when we were down in the hollow. And it's 76 up here. So it's pretty nice up here. And people from Savannah, and it would come as far as from Savannah and Charleston up here for the summer. This was their summer vacation getaway. Some of them would go to Hendersonville and Flat Rock, but a lot of them would stay right here in Saluda. So Saluda became quite the place. Most people knew where Saluda was. A lot of them had summer homes up here, especially all the textile barons and things from down on below the isothermal line. Isothermal is where it's a line that goes along the edge of the mountain, down about halfway up the mountain. It connects points of equal temperatures due to the elevation change. So Isothermal Community College gets its name from there. The isothermal belt and the thermal belt region, that's where all that comes from. Yeah, it's one of the most dangerous grades in the United States and possibly the world. Is the steepest grade east of the Mississippi. Lots of people crashed on it. Lots of railroaders died. There weren't any accidents on the passenger lines, but there would be accidents on the big coal trains that would be taking coal down the mountain. One of those trains that wrecked down by the Slaughterhouse Curve was engineered by a fellow named Pitt Ballou, and Pitt Ballou was a giant of a man, almost as big as his personality. He was 5 foot tall, and always flashy dresser. Always had a big peacock feather in his cap, and always had smart things to say to people, and was very larger than life, I would say. Well, after the wreck, and he and his crew had jumped off the train right at the last minute when that train wrecked and dumped a bunch of coal down the mountainside. He was recuperating in the hospital, and he came up with an idea. Of a sidetrack that would go up the mountain, so that engineers had the option to run their trains that were running away from them up the mountain and take away some of that speed. Kind of like the runaway truck ramps you see along the highways today. And that's how this whole area became famous. It's pretty famous. It's also just a nice place to go. Most recently, it's become kind of a haven for artisans and artists and craftspeople, and a tourist destination. So we're headed down Pearson Falls Road. going down the mountain from Saluda. We're going to kind of follow the railroad grade. As a matter of fact, we're going to go under it. As a matter of fact, here's the tunnel that we go under the railroad. The first place we go under it, just down from Saluda. And the road is lined with trees. Oh my gosh, gorgeous, beautiful, huge hemlock trees and tulip poplars and old growth rhododendron and mountain laurel. Sometimes it's covered up with that crazy kudzu stuff, but mostly it's mostly the ivy, as the old timers call it. That's what they call rhododendron and mountain laurel. As a matter of fact, they have a specific name for the growth that where it grows real thick. They call it an ivy hell. And old-time coon hunters would hate it when their dogs got caught in the ivy hell. They'd have a hard time getting them out. But we're going to head on down the mountain. We're going to flow down like the headwaters of the Packlet River. And we're going to stop a few places and stop and listen to that river a little bit as we go down. Well, we're almost at the foot of the mountain. We're here at Karamai. It's a kind of a supper club, as you'd call it. Mountain dining at its finest. You get pan-fried trout and good old fried chicken, and the sides are served family style in bowls. You just ask for more if you want them. Green beans and a vinegar-based coleslaw and beets and all kinds of goodies. Macaroni, salad, all kinds of tasty things. It used to be one of the only places around to get a nice dinner. It's kind of a fine dining mountain tradition here on the banks of the river. And but now there's been a lot more restaurants added to the list. But the Karamai, which the owners, part of the time they spent in Carolina, part of the time they spent in Miami, hence the name Karamai. You know, when I was in Wisconsin, the thing I missed the most was the mountains. I missed them terribly. I missed the high mountains and the trees and even the kudzu vines. Now that I'm back in the mountains, I realize that it wasn't just the mountains that I missed, but the mountains and the valleys. Psalm 125 says, "As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people, both now and forevermore." It's interesting. Life is a series of mountains and valleys. And it seems like the diversity between them is what makes life special. Some of my hardest times, once I get on the other side of them, I look back and they were some of my best times in life. I kind of wonder, is it the mountains? Is it the valleys? Or is it the valleys and the mountains? I pray you're having a great day. I pray wherever you are, you're having fun, and it's warm, and everything's good in your life. But if it's not, maybe you're just going through a valley or going over a mountain. The only thing I know for sure is that God is with you. Take care. God bless.